This week on Standpoint, political tension escalates in Rivers State as the State House of Assembly moves to impeach Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The development marks a new flashpoint in the protracted power struggle that has defined governance in the state over the past year, raising serious constitutional, legal, and political questions. Is this move a lawful exercise of legislative oversight or the climax of a deepening political vendetta? And what does it mean for stability in one of Nigeria's most political strategic states? That conversation begins now. I am Precious Amayu. Welcome to Standpoint. So the political crisis in Rivers State has taken a dramatic turn as the State House of Assembly formally begins steps towards the impeachment of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The move follows weeks of heightened tension between the executive and the legislature, a standoff that has paralyzed governance and drawn at national attention. Lawmakers backing the impeachment accuse the governor of gross misconduct, citing alleged constitutional breaches and administrative decisions taken without legislative approval. The Assembly insists its actions are aligned with constitutional provisions and legislative responsibility, while allies of the governor describe the process as politically motivated and aimed at forcefully removing him from office. The impeachment move comes against the backdrop of Rivers State's long-standing power struggle between competing political blocs, a rivalry that has spilled into courts, the streets, and the heart of the legislature. Now, joining me to analyze the various dimensions of this unfolding crisis is legal practitioner Evan Ofeli. He joins me via Zoom. Good to have you join us. So now we've gone full circle. But first, I have to say that you have to please unmute yourself.
Oh, okay.
All right, I can hear you now. I think it's just a year ago, or maybe a year, I think you and I had this conversation. And we were joined by one of the removed local government chairmen from, or those who said their terms had expired. The governor said their term had expired. And he joined us and we had this conversation. After that, there was a brokered political agreement between all sides, and it looked like there was peace in Rivers State. Almost 1 year later, if not 1 year later, here we are again, Evan Ofeli. What do you make of this latest crisis?
Well, I predicted this day. If you remember, not too long ago in your station, I was in August. I said that the crisis have not ended, you know, that we are still going to face more crises even after the expiration of the state of emergency and the reinstatement of Fubara, because the underlying issues were very strong and were not resolved, okay? Now, if you look at what is going on right now, Fubara played a very smart politics when he defected from the PDP and joined the APC. When he did that, he now have direct access to the president, okay? Now, his access to the president has given him certain level of leverage, okay? Wike is now going everywhere, saying agreement is agreement. Agreement is agreement. The agreement Wike is talking about was the one that was reached secretly before Fubara was reinstated, okay? And those agreements were onerous. They were more or less, Fubara accepted all of them more or less on the basis of the fact that he wants himself reinstated. And this could be looked at from a point of disadvantage. He negotiated from a point of disadvantage and all that. And so right now that he's connecting with the president, Wike wants to give order to the National Secretary of APC, Bashiru, who kicked against that, and they had a squabble not too long ago, because Fubara had the intention to contest again. And in that agreement, it was reached that he cannot go back again, because it's not giving Wike the chance to use the state resources the way Wike would rather want it to use, okay? Wike, who was an ex-governor, wants to have a stronghold on the pulse of Rivers State. And To say that...
Wouldn't that be allegedly?
Well, for journalists, you can say allegedly for journalists. These are my words, and they can sue me if they want, because I have evidence. Okay, for journalists, they'll say allegedly. I'm just because I don't know how to do analysis, keeping the truth aside. That's exactly what is going on. We can have serious hold on the State House of Assembly. Okay, and they are saying he's spending out of budget. There's nothing Fubara will do that State House will not go against. If Fubara presents a budget today now, they will tell Fubara that there's an existing budget going on. Why is he presenting another one? Because you know that the administrator have an existing budget. Okay.
Mr. Ufeli, I'll get to that point in just a moment. I want us to take this issue because, again, what you're saying is what the APC has said, but we'll get to that. I want us to take this issue one after the other. I just want us to revisit the previous court cases and judgments, because there were a lot of them. If you remember, we're trying to even talk about, to highlight and explain some of them to us in the last conversation we had on this. Just help us revisit some of those judgments. Do any of them, or does any of them cover for what we're seeing now? Have events override some of the issues that are being raised now by those court judgments?
Yeah, well, events are overriding them because the court judgment was centered on the first dispute. The first dispute was that Fubara had a premonition. Okay, first, where this whole dispute started from was that Wike, appointed virtually all the commissioners and didn't want the subsisting governor, Fubara, to have an input in the executive assemblage of commissioners and the rest of that. So I got to a point where Wike felt Fubara was not loyal and then had to rely on the State House of Assembly to put him on that check and possibly to, impeach him. So in the course of that, Fubara deployed the bulldozer to destroy the State House of Assembly complex to enable them not to be able to meet to do that. Okay. From then, it snowballed into full crisis. They were in court. First, they had to, Fubara himself, the House had to split, okay? Because they now have Fubara and three lawmakers for which a budget was presented. And the larger house went to court, okay? And all that. Then there's a part of which also was that 27 out of the number of lawmakers defected. It was on TV and all that to APC at that time. Now, all of a sudden, they came back and said they did not defect. Okay. The three declared their seat vacant. The seat of the 27 others vacant. And from there, it snowballed into court cases. The courts had ruled that they did not defect. Okay. That if they had defected, the other parties that went to court ought to show that really defected and ought to show the register for which they used to join the other party they are in, and their voters card and all that should have been presented to convince the court that they actually defected. Then the three others went on appeal. And so this matter became convoluted. At some point, there were 4 concurrent matters running in the court on different issues about this whole thing. The one they also filed another one on the basis of the budget, whether you can present a budget before 3 members, and if that is done, whether it is valid under the law, whether they made a quorum to have sat and that why the state is spending on the basis of that budget, whether it's legal or not. Okay. So the confusion became so much to the point where there's a state of emergency was declared and Fubara was removed. Okay. And here we are today. There's a renewed crisis because right now the matters we are talking about now are not different from the matters that were dealt with by the court before now.
And some of those matters are also, for example, of course, they tagged all of them as gross misconduct, and acting outside of legislative approval. But the issue around the demolition of the State Assembly and the non-payment of salary, I don't know if that non-payment of salaries is a recent one, but I know previously that issue was also one of the issues that led to the previous disagreements they also had. But I wanted to talk about the budget because you've started touching on it. They said he has not presented the budget to him. They've written to him several times and he refused to show up. But the comments on the statement coming from the APC is that, look, he's running on the budget, which was being used by the state sole administrator. But one of the members of the House also said that he cannot run on that budget because it doesn't cover for his own projects. So speak to all of this legally.
It can run on the budget because it's the River State budget. The River State budget may not have emanated from the State House of Assembly because they were not operational at that time. Okay, so it's the River State budget, so you can run on it. And assuming but not conceding, assuming that it was even the State House of Assembly that came up with that budget. If you look at the Constitution in Section 2, is it 2.7? Well, I can't remember the section directly now. There's a provision in the Constitution that allows for a governor to run on previous budget within 6 months in a situation where a new budget is not yet in place. Okay, so you cannot go and then file a notice of impeachment on the basis of that, he did not present. It's covered by the Constitution. I'm surprised because they have lawyers in that assembly. I'm surprised they don't know this. So it cannot be gross misconduct that a governor is spending on the previous budget because the current budget is not available, and he has 6 months within which to do that. This is January. This is just the first month of the year. So how does that constitute? See, this is how I tell you that the State House of Assembly of Rivers State, they have no mind of their own. That is the issue. Wike controls that assembly. Okay, and as long as Wike is controlling the assembly, they continue to see it. Apart from the speaker, if you look at all of them, their countenance, all of them are tired. They are tired of this whole thing. Apart from the speaker, who's after the resolution by 1/3 of the House members. Okay, so they must serve him in person. Okay, and he has 14 days within which to respond to that, either by himself or through a legal practitioner of his choice. Okay, then the process continues. The State House will set up a panel, okay, independent of the State House, and that panel will look into the issue, whether the allegations so raised were valid or they have it's truly that there are gross misconduct. If the House in its finding notice that there is no gross misconduct, the process will end there. But if it finds out that there's gross misconduct, it will indicate so. And the resolution will come back to the State House. The State House will, by 2/3 majority, you understand, through a vote, pass their verdict on the situation. If they pass their verdict on the situation and they have that number passing that verdict, then the governor stands impeached. But one of the problems we have about impeachment in Nigeria is that if you look at all the impeachment we've had, the highest number of impeachment we had done in 2006, Peter Obi, in Ekiti, your there are a lot of states where we had that, down to the last one we've had, the impeachment of the deputy governor, as the last one we had in those states. You understand? But the courts have always said that the process were not followed through. Because there's a part of the law that says that the courts have no jurisdiction to, stop the National Assembly, but the court have jurisdiction to look into the process, whether they follow through most times they don't follow the processes through. So you always have the court upturn because the process is supposed to be followed through effectively. And most times, when you have impeachment of this nature, it is usually most times not in the interest of the electors or the electorate. It's usually in the interest of politicians. In the case under reference, can these lawmakers, can they be truthful to themselves that truly, they, in a manner of speaking, on merit, Fubara should be impeached? Okay. He has not been the governor, he has not been on seat for the last 6 months. He just resumed. Okay. And upon resumption, you are gathering all he did before and now as grounds for impeachment and all that. So you see, as long as the Rivers State House of Assembly have no mind of its own, as far as they are being controlled by Wike, there's nothing Fubara will do. So, even if Fubara present that budget,
I'm going to put you on hold. Just allow me to put you on hold because we need to go on break, and then we'll return. I'll let you land on the thought. Apologies for butting in. We'll take a break now, and when it returns, we'll continue our conversation on the Rivers State political crisis. Stay with us, everyone.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news. Stay ahead with the biggest news stories. Go beyond the news headlines. Experience impactful investigations. Enjoy resourceful news coverage in real time. TVC News at 7 and TVC News at 10 p.m. Live every day on this channel. TVC News, first with breaking news.
All right, thanks for staying with us. You're watching Standpoint. We've been speaking on the Rivers State political crisis, the recent impeachment move against the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, by the State House of Assembly, which is the third attempt we've seen in the just very brief tenure of the governor. All right, let's bring in our guest. He's a lawyer, Evan Ofeli. He's been addressing some of these issues, which has happened previously and now. Thank you so much for staying with us. But I just wanted do you still want to land on the thought you were making, or do you want me to continue?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
All right, so the political dimension of this is also very something I find very interesting as well, because when this issue first started, they were all in PDP, even though there was this conversation about whether the lawmakers are defected. But now they're all majorly, at least the State House of Assembly, almost every one of them are now in APC. I want to just confirm, if just get your thoughts on that, because PDP did nothing about it, but now we're seeing APC sort of coming out to support Governor Fubara. But the lawmakers are a bit defiant. Do you think that just because of those who hold the political levers of power in Rivers State, perhaps there will be a political solution to this?
Well, there can be a political solution to it if Wike allows it. What Wike is saying is that the solution has already been signed, sealed, and delivered, and that the solution is the agreement that was reached when Fubara was, under serious tension. Okay, that those agreements, the agreement that must stand. Okay, that's exactly what Wike is saying. Wike is not calling for any political solution because to him, he believes that the matter has been settled and somebody is in breach or somebody is making an attempt to breach the agreement. Okay, he doesn't want Fubara back there. Okay, but you see, Wike's ambition cannot obscure the law. Okay, Wike's ambition not to allow Fubara to come back in second term cannot uproot the constitutional provision that says that the person, who is a governor can run for that term and an extra term. Okay, he has a right. It's a constitutional matter, and the constitution is supreme. We don't have supremacy of individuals in Nigeria, or supremacy of persons over constitution. It's a constitution that supersedes any agreement reached between Fubara and Wike that he will do just one term. That agreement is inconsistent with the provision of this constitution. And the law is that the constitution shall prevail, and that other agreement or law will be to the extent of its inconsistency void. Okay? So Fubara will have to put up the war chest if he truly wants to contest again, because the APC, they are already with him. Okay? The secretary, national secretary, is already having issues with Wike on that basis. And then the APC, they are backing, because they are all now in APC. And then look at the contradiction. This same speaker and his members who claim, in court that they did not defect, to APC. All of them are in APC. And they are still talking about the court. They don't have shame. You are talking about the court. You are making the court a jester, because a few months away from today, you were in court to defend the fact that you did not defect. Today, you are in the middle of the defection, and then you are raising your hands and telling the court that Fubara is in contempt of court. Okay, on the basis of that. What kind of confusion? You see, when you are not thinking for yourself, this is how you appear. You appear incongruent, confused, and not knowing exactly where you're heading to. And that's exactly what the State Assembly is doing right now. Instead of them to partner with the governor, who is Fubara, and see how they can make the state better, they are trying to move things here and there.
I have about 30 seconds left. Apologies again. I just want to quickly ask this question. People have a right to be loyal to who they want to be loyal to. It depends on who has supported and favored them all along. But I also wanted to ask you about where this leaves the president. Here is a governor who is now a member of his party, and here is a man who also is a minister and has demonstrated, quite frankly, immense loyalty and support to the president. So where does this leave him?
Well, it is much more beneficial to the president to work with Fubara than to work with Wike. Fubara is the sitting governor. During the election, Fubara will do more for the president than Wike would do. Okay? No matter how, because the governor in seat can, run Wike out of Rivers State with the resources and the control. So it is in the interest of Wike to see how this can be resolved. Forget about the agreement he's talking about. See how they can fashion out new ways and new patterns to deal with the issue. The president has a prerogative to decide how he wants the issue, how he wants it to go, because he cannot throw away Fubara, who is a member of his own political party, and then lynch on to Wike, who is neither here nor there, not in PDP, not in APC. Okay, and because politics is about.
But he says he's still a member of the PDP. He hasn't left the PDP yet.
He hasn't left the PDP. He was suspended from the PDP. He was suspended. So, I mean, was it in the last in their last convention?
Well, that's another matter. But his own faction has in turn also suspended those who suspended. Those issues, I think, are still playing out as they're playing out, whether in court or not. But I'm afraid I wish I had time to ask you more questions, because this is quite interesting. But I'm afraid we do have to leave it there. It's always a pleasure to have you join us and help us make sense of these issues, whether politically or legally. Thank you so much for your time, lawyer Evan Ofili.
Very well. Yeah.
All right, that's our show for today. Remember, your views, the views of our resource persons, and have no connection with TVC News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, you can watch a repeat at 11 p.m. tonight and 5 a.m. on Sunday morning. I am Precious Amayu. Thanks for watching.